She didn't believe me. When I told her I could take Aunt Mary's place, she didn't believe me. She tapped my hand with a placating look, letting me know she wouldn't hold me to my word. But 1 week later, the letter arrived in her mailbox, just like I told her it would. A letter that did take me over an hour to write, because I actually hadn't written a letter since high school, and I'm pretty sure that consisted of me telling Janine Higgins how awesome Brian Mannix's ass looked in his basketball shorts. But now I was in my late 20s and writing to my 80-year-old grandmother. But I had to. She looked so sad when her sister Mary passed away, her pen pal for over 30 years. They had begun to write to each other after they had each gotten married. Mary had moved to Massachusetts, and my grandmother stayed in New York. And when my aunt died, I held my grandmother's hand in mine and told her that I'd like to take her place if she'd let me. That first letter turned into a decade of letters between us. My grandmother would write 1 week, and I would write the next. A deep love grew for her in those letters that I don't think would have been possible in person. We shared our fears, our hopes, and even our regrets. She told me stories that made tears fill my eyes, like how she and my grandfather created a secret language during the war so that he could tell her where he was, without anyone else knowing, or how she dealt with the pain and devastation from having a stillborn after being sent home from the hospital for what they thought was false labor. My heart skipped a beat each time I saw a letter in my mailbox. It was those letters that taught me about my grandmother, but also about myself. While going through divorce, I found solace in her words. She was a woman who had lost her husband at only 50 years old to cancer. She had taught herself how to drive, how to manage a bank account, and how to raise 3 children that she adored. Every letter embodied a love I needed, a love to fill the pain happening in my life. But it's not the emotions that I remember the most about her letters. What always put a smile on my face was the bits of advice she would share in them. From making sure to wear slippers on hardwood floors because she saw Dr. Oz talking about pneumonia, to pushing the hair out of my face because she told me it looked younger and had those little wrinkles. She would include articles from the local penny saver on how to clean a toaster with a piece of tin foil and some olive oil, or a comic book strip that amused her and made her think of me. She would even include old bras that didn't fit her anymore, in case I wanted to save money while completely and utterly losing my dignity. Each of her letters were guaranteed to make you smile. Perhaps roll your eyes a little bit, but always smile. She wrote me when I was down and depressed, and she wrote me when I got myself back up and found happiness in myself. She wrote me when I started dating again and when I found love on a bocce ball court. And she wrote me as she started to battle dementia, and her heart beat slower each day. Words became harder to read, and handwriting became harder to understand. But she kept writing me. Then, on Mother's Day of 2012, while visiting her in New York, I kissed her on her forehead and told her that I loved her, that I couldn't say enough and thank her enough for all she had given me in those letters. That Mother's Day would be the last time I saw her. There would be no more letters, no more advice, and no more funny observations from reality television shows like Judge Judy or Dr. Oz, both valuable sources of information. But now, instead of the many tears I could still shed and do from time to time, I focus on the treasure box I keep inside my office, the box that is filled with each of those letters, the words that changed my life. And someday, if I have a granddaughter who needs a little bit of help in her life, I'll pull those out and make her smile. And maybe she'll offer to put the pen to the paper herself. And I probably won't believe her either until I open that mailbox. Thank you.